Thank you so much, Almaz. And I'm so sorry that I could not join physically. I hope you're able to hear me. Um, but let me start with why I wanted to, frame the title this way. And because there is a lot that we can indeed discuss, and too much of law can actually sometimes be boring. No one better to say than a law student herself, which is that um, there was a provision in the previous draft rules which talked about if any trans person, if any person is impersonating a trans person or is lying on the government documents for applying for certification, then then the person is liable to be proceeded with criminal proceedings in this country. Now, after a lot of, recommendations and consultations and pushback, of course, that provision has been deleted. But this particular provision is what triggered this title, because this and one more admission was the minister's social justice minister's admission in the floor of parliament, which and I don't know, has not found itself in the records, but I do remember seeing this, is that Indian penal code, and this is something that the minister said, that the Indian penal code and the CRPC is applicable to trans persons, and trans persons are very well covered under it. Even though when you look at the very definition of trans persons, and when you look at the very definition under section 8 and 10 of IPC, you will know that we are not covered. A lot of us are not covered, and and that's something that even basic common sense will dictate. But unfortunately, that has not found itself in the entire understanding of the act, because a lot, we had to push a lot around recognition. We had to think about a lot around recognition, because that itself gatekeeps who accesses rights under the act. That we spent very little time talking about remedies under the act. Although a lot of I've in the past few days I've been reading a lot of community consultations, whichever publicly is available and whichever I could access. And the one thing that I could see was, let me begin with, say, the word abuse. Trigger warning. I don't. If anyone feels triggered by this conversation, word abuse is the word which is constantly defined from the 2014 bill onwards. But interestingly, 2014 bill by Tiruchi Shiva are the temporarily the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment's 2015 bill had very different kinds of offenses from what we have now in the current act. And why is that important to remind? It's important to remind ourselves, because under this current act, there is a section which literally has a cut copy paste. I would say cut copy paste because I'm a student. I am sure everyone who has been a student over here would understand what's cut copy paste. With every assignment we do that, right? And it feels like a cut copy paste from an act which is passed earlier, called the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, right? PWDVA in section 3 has a clause which talks of economic, sexual abuse and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering, because PWDVA is in a particular context of a civil law. It has civil remedies. It has remedies like, protection orders. It has a range of orders, and it is in consonance with criminal law. We have already a provision under IPC. We have a provision under CRPC for maintenance and for any for criminal proceedings, for in the case of domestic violence. When you cut copy paste that and you put it under the offenses and penalties section under the Transact, what usually happens is the context is completely missed. So if anyone reads that provision, they will know that this is not about protecting the trans persons or intersex person or gender non-conforming persons right to the household. The right to the household and right to be protected from domestic violence is the idea under PWDVA. That is not the idea here. They are saying that we have a right to reside in the household, but they are not giving us any remedy. Anyone who has studied law or has heard of it, you will know this famous Latin maxim, ubi jus ibi remedium, which is that without the if there is a right, there has to be remedy, right? This act, while it says Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019, it doesn't provide us remedies. It does. So I'll give you a simple example. It has copied itself from the PWDB Act, whoever did it, and that started from the 2016 bill. What the act doesn't have is maintenance orders. So if someone gets out of the house, how are they going to survive? Are they going to only survive by the state support? Or is the child, when they say that the child shall be placed by a court in a rehabilitation center or whatever, then do we have the right to maintenance from our families? As simple as that. How is the act imagining a trans person's body to survive without any kind of maintenance? And let's quickly, because I want to also talk a little bit about civil remedies. But before that, a lot of arguments around framing this act constantly equated that provision with again trigger warning rape, for example. Unfortunately, there is no provision apart from maybe like here and there, section 377 or something, under specific situations, do not protect us. And maybe this is Dr. Mrinal Satish will cover on this, but again, my idea is that when you're creating an act which is on rights, where is the remedy? What is the remedy that we can indeed seek, apart from saying that please file a writ petition? For everything, we'll have to file a writ petition and go to court. If that is the case, even after the creation of an act, then why do you create an act? Before the act and post the Nalsa judgment, of course, we use the judgment, we use the constitution and seek remedies from the courts. But even after the creation of an act, in whatever wrong or problematic ways and whatever inadequacies, even then, if we have to go to the court to file a petition, then what is the point? Let's come to the civil remedies part, right? 2014 and 15 bill had is completely different from what it is doing here. 2014 and 15 bill used the often placed the onus on the establishment. So their offenses and penalties section was trying to focus on establishments. What is happening now under this act is unfortunately that they are saying we'll have a complaint officer, but they are not defining what kind of complaints the complaint officer can take. Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, what kind of complaints can the complaint officer take? If say, for example, I'll give you, let's take the example of CLPR, or let's take the example of Delhi University, because I study in University of Delhi. University of Delhi appoints a complaint officer. What is the mandate of the complaint officer? Because if you change complaint to grievance redressal, then it's no longer a remedy. When you make a right into a hotline and helpline, and you make it sound like tokenistic, you're not talking of empowerment, you're talking of a charity-based welfare model, which is not rights, which is definitely not remedies. Now, the other major point I want to emphasize is the fact that the word discrimination. In 2014 and 15 bills, there was some definition of discrimination, which also mentioned reasonable accommodation. Then it completely disappeared in the 2016 bill. Definition hi nahi hai. So I'll give you an example. If University of Delhi is discriminate, and if I'm overshooting the time, please let me know. I'm sorry, I just tend to do that.
We do not have time.
Okay, so I'll give you an example, because I mean, without example we cannot understand. So you say University of Delhi is discriminating against me. Okay, what the provision says is A, B, C includes discrimination. But what do they mean by discrimination? I really want to meet the person who drafted this act. Please, I really want to. I have said this in more panels, and I'll proudly say it in CLPR. I really want to meet and have a honest, face-to-face discussion on why is this act a mess. Forget about political position, forget about all other, ideologies and stuff, because if you don't have a definition, then what is the court going to rely on? The court is going to then say, okay, you're saying discrimination includes Act A, Act B, Act C, Act D. But unless you have a broad overarching definition, there will be always acts which won't fall into all this, but can fall into the definition. This is a simple logic of legal interpretation, of framing a law, which I don't know why they have. In between, what happened was in the rules, somewhere the definition of discrimination came, and somewhere it disappeared. And I do not understand this over-reliance on Yogyakarta principles for discrimination. And this is something that other people have also said. We don't rely for discrimination on our constitution. The act is not conforming itself to the constitution, and this is why it's violative of the constitution, and this is why it's offensive. Let me go to something in the rules. The rules say in the police and every district shall establish a transgender protection cell, right? And I'm just wondering, what is the composition of that cell? So we know when everyone talks about police atrocities, why is the act not recognizing that we do face atrocity? By we, I mean a lot of trans persons face police atrocities and state violence. Why is that not considered? And I really do not understand this. There was one in 2015 bill, I remember, there was this one word which was used called torture. That word has completely disappeared in the entire language of the act. Whether it's regarding intersex persons, whether it's regarding transgender persons, the word torture has completely disappeared. And the state is not willing to think about what different remedies can we constitute, which will help various persons. So there is no understanding of specific kinds of violence on trans persons, apart from what they are very happily trying to criminalize, which is begging, in terms of using the word begging and bonded labor. The word begging has gone because of a lot of negotiations, but bonded labor still remains. I'll quickly summarize. Because why am I focusing on complaint officer? Let's go back to that, right? The idea is, I hope everyone has heard of the POSH Act. I hope so, right? So when we, everyone nowadays, including judges, I'm sorry to say if any judges also listening to this, judges are also talking of gender neutrality. Everyone, even including the men's rights movement, wants to talk of gender neutrality. I mean, men's rights movement, I mean cis men's rights movement, which is very cishet men dominated. So they all want to talk of that, say gender neutrality, and say women are misusing our laws. Every professor who talks on gender studies also wants to talk on that. But nobody wants to say that, say, in a complaint officer in this, they'll be able to take complaints on the POSH Act. So when it comes to universities, there is a UGC guideline which says any bullying on the ground of sexual orientation or gender identity will constitute ragging, at least on paper. We don't know how it's implemented. But when it comes to workplaces, there is no protection. You are saying a trans person must obtain certification from the state and conveniently sidestep from any protection that they will get from the state if they before that certification. Then what? We will not get protection under sexual harassment. And this act does not even define sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is defined under PWDVA, and it doesn't have any criminal proceeding or criminal remedy. This act has. But this act again says 6 months to 2 years. I find it terribly offensive, and that is why this title. Because for the longest time, we have been saying continuously, this is offensive. If there is anyone who is discriminating against me in an establishment, what is the penalty? Because the act says economic, social, economic, psychological, sexual abuse. But what about discrimination? What is the penalty for it? This is an act where discrimination becomes grievance redressal. That is why the remedies are offensive. And that is why this is not an act which protects our rights. This is an act which is a mess, where it does not talk about this, if we are dispossessed, what will happen. It does not give back our rights. It takes away our rights. I'll end there. Thank you so much.